Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of A Contagious Smile. And oh, are we going to be smiling? I am so excited. I have wanted this amazing human being on for so long, and finally a little burp opens up in his schedule so I can grab him and get him here. It's Bullseye the Clown. I'm so
Yay!
excited. He is amazing all on his own. He has such a story that I want to share, and so many things coming up that I am going to challenge everybody to help with. So, Bullseye, it's so nice to meet you.
Well, thank you for having me on your show. I know it's been a while. I think we started talking like a long time ago, and it just never worked out. So I'm glad to be here.
I'm so glad that you're here. So, how long have you been bringing happy faces to other people?
Well, actually, a long time. I mean, even before I became a clown, I was a stand-up comedian. So I traveled for 10 years as a stand-up comedian. But then, kind of like the rigors of doing stand-up and the pressure of, all that, I kind of left that. And then I went through this whole period where my father passed away in 2018.
I'm sorry.
And during that time is when I decided, I remember seeing a movie years ago called Patch Adams.
Love the movie.
Yeah, and I realized he was like a real person. So
Right.
I went to his website, realized he had a trip coming to Russia where he was taking like clowns into Russia. And I'm like, I've never been a clown before, but I'm the stand-up comic. So how hard could this be? I found out pretty quickly. And so on a whim, I decided to sign up for this trip. And before I knew it, I was in the middle of Russia with 35 clowns, and we were going into children's hospitals and orphanages and hospices and all kinds of different places. And honestly, I really never thought I would continue to clown when I came home. I just thought, okay, this is something that I'm going to do to kind of help get over the death of my dad. And years ago, I was bullied as a kid. So I thought, you know what, all of this pent up anger and hostility I had in me, I thought, once I get back, I'll kind of deal with all that stuff, and then I'll figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life. So I never really thought that I would be in my 50s and turn into a clown. So here I am.
I have to ask, is the character in the movie Patch Adams like the real person?
um, Somewhat. He's not a big fan of the movie, actually. Yeah, they took a lot of liberties, of course, to make it Hollywoodized and
Sure.
everything. So some of the things that happened in the film, he's not 100% happy with. But on the flip side, it really opened up doors for him in the fact that uh, he was kind of in demand as a speaker, and so he went places and spoke, and was able to maybe to get into some places that before he may not have been able to get into. So, but for the most part, it was actually if I ask him about that because I travel with him a lot, and so I said, what's the biggest misconception about this movie? And he said, well, the movie is really tame compared to the way I really am. So, and that's really true. So if you ever travel with them on a trip, you'll find out that, the movie was actually tame.
Oh, wow. And you got a chance to meet Robin Williams with it, right?
I did not know. I went to Russia with Patch Adams, but that was the first time I'd ever met Patch Adams. And I'm not sure what year Robin passed away. I mean, no, I never got to meet Robin.
Yeah, he was and still is one of my all-time favorite actors. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
what a loss. It was I mean, when he passed, I felt like somebody I knew and loved passed because
Absolutely. I mean, he has such the biggest personality, the biggest smile. And so it really was a loss.
it was absolutely. So I know this must be such a hard job. Haha. Going in and looking at faces. I mean, when I go in and get to talk with the kids, and I just lost my arm a year ago, and I say I'm Captain Hook's sister, and they thought, oh, cool. And
That's awesome.
you go in there and just see a smile on their face is worth everything, and it makes you feel good. And I feel guilty. I'm like, why am I feeling so good? I'm here to make them feel good, and just to see that light and love. And they are the strongest little people I've ever met in my life. My daughter is special needs. She's had 34 surgeries. She is like, she appreciates every single day and every single thing and doesn't let the drama and BS of this world bring her down.
Well, that was what was amazing to me is when I did the first clown tour to Russia, and we were a clown 24 hours a day, seven days a week. We were there for 14 days. We were not allowed to be out of clown. So we were a clown everywhere we went. And what I wasn't expecting was that not only are we bringing smiles and healing people, but then in turn, because we are happy for 14 straight days and all the time, when I came home, all of that angst and everything that I had built up and pent up, it was all gone. It was like, nothing like that mattered, and so it amazed me how much just doing nice things for other people was able to heal me. And so, as you said, I think that's kind of what's contagious is, when I came home, I thought, I got to figure out a way to continue to do this when I get home because, this is kind of addicting, making people smile and having fun and, and trying not to have a bad day.
Right.
Patch Adams when he said he was 18 years old, he made it a point at 18 to never have another bad day in his life. And that's kind of the way I was once I did this tour. It's kind of like, what, we get caught up so much, like you said, in this petty world and all the stuff that's going on. And, a lot of times what's really nice when we go on these clown tours is we don't watch TV when we're gone. Usually we're so busy doing other things. It's like, it's almost like the rest of the world doesn't exist except for that little bubble that you find yourself in when you're like in the hospital or you're in a prison, and you're so focused on that particular person at that particular time. And it makes it nice. I mean, then you come home and go, oh, wow, this is happening. you know,
Turn it off.
right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I very seldom watch TV anymore. I really rarely do I watch TV.
Yeah, it's so much bad stuff is going on. We have a podcast called Teen Talk where we have two kids. One is Faith, and the other is a beautiful human being named Logan who has a very serious life-threatening heart condition. And they come on here and they just talk to these kids and bring such light and love. And we talk about bullying and acceptance and give them that unconditional space that they need to heal. And it breaks my heart because these kids, like, I don't have a safe place at home. I don't have a safe place at school. I'm getting bullied here. And I'm like, well, here you're safe. And here you can talk about whatever you want, because it's so important that the kids have that. And when you see them just light up, I mean, just that smile is so infectious. And you're like, how can I ever feel guilty about anything in life? Like you can't look at these
Right.
beautiful children and you can't. I mean, if you do, you're like not whole. I mean, it's just, do you have a favorite memory where you walked in and saw a kid and you just turned their day around?
Sometimes it's very difficult. Sometimes we walk in. I remember, I think this was in Morocco. We walked in and we could tell that the child that we went into was in pain. And so at first he was just kind of like, I don't understand what's happening. We don't speak the language, and he didn't speak English, and so it's like, why are there two clowns in my hospital room? And so a lot of times, because we don't know always what's wrong with the person, so you're not sure if you are allowed to touch them, or because
Right.
you don't hurt anybody. So I have like these little rubber chickens. They're about yay big, and they're like a flinger. So what I usually do is, like, when the nurse comes in the room, I'll like fling one at them, and then all of a sudden he kind of starts to smile, because then he sees, kind of sees almost like the nurse is finally like a person. And
Right.
so we interact a lot with the parents as well, and so that kind of brings joy to them to see the kind of like the when parents are in a situation where they have a child in the hospital, they're very tense a lot of times. And
Yes.
so when they can see their parents just kind of light up and actually see that moment of stress just kind of leave their body, even if it's for like the 45 minutes that we're there. And then it kind of gives them the permission to have fun. And so that was one of the things in Morocco, is when we were going into the hospital, is just seeing the kind of the kind of furrowed brows at first when we first walked in, and then by the time we left, they're all smiling and happy. And then I gave the chickens to him, and he was flinging the chickens at the nurse, and I was just seeing what we could do to kind of ease the pain. Sometimes people are a little trepidatious when we first walk in. They're not really sure how to react with us, but we just kind of work our way in and just kind of let them know that, hey, we're here just to have fun. That's all we're here for. We have no ulterior motive. We're just here to have fun. And you know our job is to make you smile, and if we don't make you smile, then we haven't done our job, so we better get busy.
I really truly believe laughter is the best medicine. I do. And I think you have to laugh. Like, I just last week I stopped counting at over 100 surgeries that I've had to have. And
Oh, wow.
I literally stopped. So whenever I go into the OR, I have to make my team laugh or I don't feel comfortable. I'm like, okay, So I say stuff like, oh, you're going to go leave me in stitches and you're going to get on my nerves. Great. Thanks. I'm sorry I'm missing it.
But a
But right. But you see, I don't understand how people just don't want to laugh all the time. I mean, it brings such endorphins and it makes you happy, and it just makes the situation so much easier and more comfortable, and it gives the kids reasons to want to keep pursuing, to get healthy and get better, and not take anything for granted. I don't understand. I don't understand why some people have a phobia of clowns. Like, I've never been able to figure that out. Do you have any
Uh,
idea?
Me either. No. And we've tried to talk to a couple people, and they really, they can't really give us an answer. They don't really know, whether it's because we're, now, so that, if you'll notice, I don't do a whole lot of makeup. I do enough to be clowny, but then I don't overdo it by doing. And I think a lot of times it just has to do with having the whole face covered with makeup, and you're not quite sure who the person is underneath and what they're going to do. Because clowns are very unpredictable. So a lot of people don't like unpredictability. They like to be able to predict what's going to happen. So I used to do a little bit more makeup, but I just been toning it down some just to make sure that I'm somewhat clowny, but I'm not scary, I hope.
I don't think you're scary at all. I would go sit right next to a clown and just have a fun day.
Yay!
Because I think they're adorable. I think all clowns are so cute and adorable. And at the kids' hospital here, they had them come in and play with the banjo and bubbles and stuff. And I was like, you guys are fabulous. Like, it's just something extra that's not expected that helps. Because these kids sit in that room 24 hours a day. What do you have? 15 minutes of a doctor, and that's it. And then
Right.
nothing else. You don't get to sleep. I mean, I stay with my daughter whenever she's in. I don't go home till she does. And you can't get any rest. You have to go home to rest, because it's like all night long they come in the room, and it's just like, really, how do you expect them to get better? And it's always they want to talk in front of you. And I tell the doctors, don't talk in front of my daughter. You and I go out in the hall, because that's not, they don't need to hear some of this conversation.
Right. Well, it's funny. Because I was bullied years ago, when I go into, like, say we go into an orphanage and there's, like, we're like rock stars, the kids will all rush us. My first instinct is to find the one kid that's not coming up to us, because I always felt left out as a kid. And so it was funny when we went to Russia and we were in this orphanage. I found this girl and she was just sitting over by the side. So I went over and I sat down beside her, and she turned and she gave me like a really dirty look, and she got up and she moved to a different chair. So then I got up and I moved to the chair next to her, and we did this all the way around this gymnasium in the orphanage. And so I thought, okay, I'm not reaching this girl. Something's wrong. So I just reached into my bag and I pulled out some bubbles. And as I pulled out the bubbles, she came over and she sat down beside me. And then I turned over and I gave her a dirty look, and I got up and I moved to a different chair. And then she started following me all the way back around to the gymnasium. And then finally, when we did the second trip, I then gave her the bubbles, and I was able to reach her and kind of interact with her. But that's been kind of my thing. It's like I kind of will scan a room when I walk in. And with Patch Adams trips where there's 35 clowns, so I'm like, one clown doing, I might only see one person when I go into these places, because I seek out somebody who doesn't seem to be participating and feels left out.
And
um
really need you.
yeah, like I said, and sometimes I reach them, sometimes I don't. And I do my best, but that's all you can do. You can just make yourself available, and you know and if the bubbles wouldn't have reached her, I probably would have reached in and grabbed something else out of the bag, and tried something else, a magic trick or something, just something that would, and then sometimes, I just will go in and start doing something myself. Like I'll start, I had like temporary tattoos there. So I would actually do a tattoo on myself. And so people kind of like, what is he doing? So that would kind of draw some of
Yeah,
the bystanders in. So it's just, you kind of figure out different little ways to draw people in,
that's so cute.
and include everyone. That's my big thing, is I like everyone to feel included. It would just kill me if we left somewhere and somebody said, not one clown came up to me. So that would just as a clown, and as somebody who's always felt left out, I would hate for that to happen.
Why did you always feel left out when you were younger?
Part of it was probably, like I said, I was bullied. So
Mhm.
um I think that I built a wall, and so I didn't want people around me, because chances are if these people are around me at some point in time, I felt that they were going to bully me. So I was not able to make friends real well, because I built this wall up. And I think in some respects I still do that.
Mhm.
Because I'm not like, if you look at my Facebook page, I see all my other clown friends, and they've got, 5,000 followers, and then 100,000 followers on this, and I'm like, I'm very selective. I check people out. I'll go onto like their Facebook page, and if I don't like their post, I say no, I don't befriend you. you know,
There's nothing wrong with that.
yeah, I mean, years ago, I wanted to be like super famous,
Yeah.
and I wanted to be like, like a Lady Gaga or something like that, but maybe like of the clown world or whatever. Um, but then the more I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? I don't need to be loved by everybody. I just need to be loved by the right people, you
Right.
know,
Yes.
and I found that my audiences aren't thousands and thousands. My audiences are one-on-one, and if I can help one person, hopefully this one person will go and help one person, and then eventually it'll all come around. So yeah, so I would say that probably, which I'm sure that even like with the domestic violence situations, I had an alcoholic abusive stepfather, and so I kind of know where all that's coming from as well. And so you just build these walls up, and you don't want to let anyone in. And so I think that that's what I did from an early age, and to some extent I still do that. I'm trying not to, but it's hard to break old habits, as they say. But I just try to be happy, um, and I've learned really, I know quickly how I. It's kind of like they say, you may not remember what people say, but you remember how people make you feel.
1000%.
Yeah, and so the people who, whenever I'm with them and I leave and I think, you know what, I just feel gross after like being with them. I just don't visit them again. I don't have anything to do with them. I've learned who to associate with and who not to, and I know what websites and social media platforms to um be on and which ones not to, because there are some that I avoid with like the plague. So
Me too. Me too. But
yeah.
I love that because we also spotlight people who have come from a more diverse situation and look at them shining now, which is like you. I love the people I get to work with. I love them. I hate how we meet because it breaks my heart that any child would
Mhm.
be in that situation. And I always tell everybody, I don't want the children today having to go through adulthood recovering from their childhood. They need to enjoy being a kid. I mean,
Right.
to hear my kids that I work with say, I'm scared to go to school because I'm going to get shot, breaks my heart into a million pieces. And so when I see someone who flourishes like you have, I want them to see this. I want them to see that you can come out from there. Even the tiniest little spark will set a wildfire. And you have that little spark. And now you have set a wildfire around the globe. And they can too. They need to believe in themselves because they don't feel like they have anyone that
Mhm.
believes in them. And that is so important that they know that they do. And they can every single step of the way. Like I've always said, there's a way to say something without hurting someone's feelings. And
Absolutely.
my daughter would come in here right now and tell you my mom has never yelled at me, she's never spanked me, nothing. But I would say to her, I have to tell you, I love you with all my heart. I don't like what you just did. And that's how I always would start it and finish it and say, I think you're an amazing kid and you got all of this potential, but I don't like what I just saw out of your behavior, but I still love you to death. And that's how we would talk about it. And then, and things go wrong, I would say, you're making the choice here not to do the right thing. And you have to sit down and have a conversation. Like everywhere you go now, everybody's on their phones, nobody's having a conversation. When I ask the kids, hey, do you want to go on a play date? I just saw them on Zoom. Why would I want to go over there? And it's a
Right.
what? Are you
Yeah.
kidding? I don't get it. So your story from going from where you were to now is so inspirational because I think so many people could really grab a hold of the change that you've made and it would inspire them.
But I don't even know that I would want to be a kid now. I mean,
Mm-mm.
back when I was growing up, and probably back when you were growing up, I don't know if we're the same age or not around that age, but we didn't have social media. We didn't
Uh,
have Facebook. We didn't have Twitter. So, if the bullies came to visit me, they had to make a house call.
right? Yeah.
They would have to come and they'd have to grab my underwear and run it up the flagpole. That's the kind that's the kind of bullying we got back then. And we got it at school. Um,
Yes.
but now people get it at school, they get it at home, they get it on the computer. They really just can't escape it unless they learn to block it out. It's like, I don't know how many people I blocked. I will not do Twitter. I just know I find Twitter to
I
be
don't either.
probably worst platform for bullying. So I refuse to be on that platform. And so you just have to limit, and I find it sad that, there's a lot of these websites where, like the kids are posting, hot or not, am I pretty or am I not pretty? Because then they're just opening up the floodgates for some people to belittle them and say, no, you're not pretty, why do you keep, things like. And I just find it really sad that a lot of people feel the need to seek the approval
Right.
from people that they don't even know and probably will never ever meet.
Right.
You know, it's that's what I love. Like I love what I do because when we go in, we're there one on one. When we went out to play as kids, we went outside. We climbed trees, we ran
Yes.
through the woods, we swam in the creek, we ate mud pies, we did all that. And
We
today,
drank from a garden hose.
exactly, yeah. And today we would, if we did all that stuff, we would be like, they would say that we were child abuse.
Right. Right.
you
But
know,
then you also
but
have a place in New York that is allowing kids to come into school. Say you have Tammy comes into school dressed as a little girl, and she's allowed to change her entire appearance and turn into Tim, and the school is not letting the parents know. And I think that's abuse in their own way, because what you're doing is you're teaching this beautiful human being that it's okay to be deceitful to your family, that you can keep secrets of that magnitude from your family. I mean, a secret, oh, I'm not telling you your birthday present, that's fine. That's a good secret. But
right, right.
to come into school and change your identity and not support it and tell the kids, we're not going to tell your parents. We're not going to tell your parents. I mean, that to me is abuse, because we as parents need to know. Why would you withhold this kind of big thing from us? But if we did that, you would be all over us with every department that you possibly could be. And
Right,
they're
because
too
you're
young.
putting your trust into the school, and you're putting your trust in the fact that when your kids goes to school, that they're going to be safe for the entire time that they're there, and
Right.
that they're going to be doing the right thing while they're there. That's why I wrote a book on bullying, and one of the things I say in there is we need to hold schools responsible. If a child comes to you and tells you that they're being bullied or they're being mistreated in some way, it is the school's responsibility at that time to take care of that problem because you are the one in charge of them at that particular moment in time.
Yes.
Uh, don't pass the buck to somebody else. Take care of the issue, whatever it happens to be. There's so much of, oh, I don't really want to get into that, or let's just let them do what they want to do, and let's go home at the end of 8 hours, and I don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Well,
And school,
yeah, well, we're entrusting you with our
right,
children
right,
for this 8 hour period. Make
right.
sure that you're doing the right thing.
Well, they're not even teaching, like, they don't teach spelling anymore. They don't teach writing. They don't teach
Well,
cursive.
that's it's evident.
Right? It really
Yeah,
is. My
yeah.
daughter is homeschooled, and she had talked to some of her friends, and she was like, "Oh, I got to go to the library, and I guess I'll find what I need in the Dewey Decimal System." And they were like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then they said, "Well, we need something. We ask Alexa." And she goes, "Oh no, let me tell you, my mom, Webster. Like I have it, And I'm like, there's nothing better than the feel of a book in your hand.
Mhm,
Like,
absolutely.
where you're sitting down and you're reading. And the fact that the kids now do everything on a tablet, they're allowed to have their cell phones in class, they're allowed to have drinks in class. And I'm like, why is this even acceptable? It's not really even school. It's like a moderate to age size daycare,
Gosh, we weren't even allowed to have a calculator.
right? Because they said you'll never need a calculator when you're now everywhere we go, you have a calculator on your phone and everywhere else.
But my sister's the same. My sister's an avid reader. She loves to read. So we thought, oh, it would be great if we got her a Kindle. Hello, doggies. Hello. Uh, but we thought it'd be great if we got her a Kindle to read her books on. And she refused. She tried it once, and she goes, "You know what? I just like turning the pages. I like having the book. I like being able to
Yes.
go back and so technology is not for everyone, and sometimes it's great. Yeah, I agree that having a tablet to read on is nice because you don't have all these books laying around. But at the same time, I also like to read books. I don't always like to pick up my phone and try to look, and
Right.
but as I get older, my eyesight is getting worse, so I need like the bigger print books.
So you've written a book. Where would we find that?
That book is on Amazon. It's called Bullseye on Bullying.
I love the title.
Yeah, and so of course I talk about how being bullied as a kid, it kind of turned me into the class clown because I figured if I was at least making fun with them, it wasn't quite so hurtful, and so it was just kind of fitting that it would be a clown that would tell you how to deal with the bullies. And so I give it like a lot of bullying information. It's kind of stuff that I just kind of peppered in today, like
Yeah.
I do talk about cyberbullying, and I do talk about making sure that you're vetting out anybody who requests to be a friend. I mean, not everybody is online for friends. There are other ulterior motives for people to be online. So like I said, I check everybody out. Um, I have a very small following, and that's okay with me. These are the people that I know are not going to post bad things on my page.
Right.
They're not going to cause me grief. I'm not going to have to come back tomorrow and do damage control. You know,
Right.
and if I see something bad on my page, it's gone.
Delete.
I hit the delete button. You know, delete and block. I do that a lot. You
Yeah.
know, and that's okay. You know, I
And
surround myself with the people now that I want to be around, and if I don't want to be around you,
too bad. Right.
yeah,
Life is too short. And I keep
it
saying
is.
that
It
to
is.
everybody. You need to be happy. Let these little things go. And I tell the kids a year from now, you're not even going to remember this day. You're not going to remember what this little kid did to
and
you
it,
at
and it's
school.
and it's hard to tell them that because they're like,
Yes.
oh no, my life is ruined. You know, I mean, I get so upset when I read stories about people who've taken like young kids who've taken their own lives just because of something silly that happened at school. To me, it's it's not silly, and to them it's not silly,
Right.
but in the scheme of life it is.
Hmm.
But they're so hurt and demoralized by just something that somebody said or that something that somebody did, and it's amazing that it can take that avenue.
Yes.
So it's really upsetting, sometimes when I sit down and because I will scroll through like the news of the day, and when I see stories like that, it just breaks your heart that they're just supposed to be going to school. They're supposed to be having fun at recess. They're supposed to be doing their math tests. Those are like the little things they're supposed to be doing. They're not supposed to be worried about, like you said earlier, bringing guns to school. And I mean, luckily, I mean, thank God we didn't have to deal with that when we were going to
Right.
school. We
Right.
had none of that stuff. I mean,
Oh,
you're lucky. Maybe somebody brought a switchblade to school, but that was like far and few between,
yeah.
or somebody might have brought like Tylenol to school and they were searching their locker.
Yeah. It's so different. Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. It's like I would seriously, I don't know that I would thrive in school today if school was like this back whenever I was going to school. I mean, it's very different.
It is. It's very, very different. So what are you up to now? What does Bullseye do on the average week?
Well, I work with a lot of seniors. I work in a senior living community, and I also will do activities with people with dementia. So I deal a lot with you know senior citizens and people with dementia, and then I also do humanitarian clown trips where we go into like children's hospitals and prisons and orphanages, things like that. And I've just started my own company called Clowns on a Mission, so it's very similar to what I do with Patch Adams. Our first trip is actually going to be to Guatemala. That's in February. And with our company, what we do is we kind of take it one step further. When we do the trips with Patch, what we leave behind is we leave behind, smiles and happiness and peace. I want to leave something tangible behind. So when we go to Guatemala, we're actually going to take 100 backpacks filled with school supplies
Of it.
because a lot of times there, the families have to choose between do I feed my child today or do I send my child to school? And there, you cannot go to school if you can't afford the school supplies. Your teachers don't buy the school supplies and have them ready for you. So if you can't afford school supplies, you just don't go to school. And so we're at least going to get 100 children in Guatemala into school. So we're going to go into like the really poor villages, clown with them first, and then we're going to hand them a backpack filled with school supplies. Because in turn, what's going to happen is those children will end up getting better jobs that they can help to support their family. It's a little different in other countries than it is here in the fact that a lot of times the kids are the ones learning English. It's the kids who are getting jobs as soon as they're out of school to help support the family. I mean, some of these families might be making, $500 a month if they're lucky,
Right.
um, and so we're going to do what we can. And so, and eventually I would like to expand that to other things. It just all depends on what people need. If we go to the orphanages and we find that they need blankets or they need shoes or they need something, and even here in the United States, I would like to do something to the effect of I know there's a lot of children in schools who have overdue lunch bills and who cannot afford
Yes.
for their lunch. And so, one of the things I would like to do with our company as well, once we kind of get more established, is I would love to go into like schools and just pay off people's school bills, or at least buy them a pass for them to have lunch for the rest of the year, something like that.
I would love for you to allow us to partner up and help you with this because
Okay.
it would be amazing. We have the best followers. They help out tremendously. And to do things like that to help, we would be so on board to help any way that we can.
That'd be and something that I'm still toying with in the back of my mind too is I know how much a clown trip helped me. I would love to like take some people who were bullied, even if they're adults, adults who've never got over it, take them on a clown tour, to let them see what it's like to bring smiles and joy to other people. So I would love to get some people together and actually do like a clown tour for them, so they can kind of see the power that they actually can have. They can reclaim their own power, and make other people happy, even though they may feel broken.
Right. I tell people all the time, even if you have a broken mirror or broken glass and you put the pieces together, look at a stained glass window. It's beautiful. And it came
Absolutely.
from broken pieces. And
Absolutely.
that's such a beautiful thing. I really want to know, what is it like? What are the kids like when you go visit them in jail? I mean, to see such a young kid incarcerated has
Well,
got
actually,
to be so hard.
when we went to we just got back from Costa Rica. When we went there, the first place we went was it was a women's prison. So these were adult women, but some of
Mhm.
the women actually had children either before they went into prison or while they were in prison. They must have given. They are allowed to keep their children there until they're 6. And then once they're 6, they either have to go live with family or they get put into the system. They go to orphanages or something like that. So, what I find, I mean, all of the prisons that we've gone into, everybody seems normal. I mean, I hate to use that word, but everybody seems to have fun.
Mhm.
Um, you would never know that the people that you're dealing with are criminals. We don't know what they've done. They
Sure.
don't tell us what kind of crimes they committed and why they're actually in prison, to begin with. But for us, it doesn't really matter. We just kind of go in as long as we're safe. We're just like as long as nobody's going to take a chicken and strangle me with it. I'm good. uh, 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 but no, it's like they were very attentive, and honestly, even the adults become like kids when we're there. I want a balloon, I want a balloon. I mean, you would think, but they probably don't see much from the outside. A lot of these places that we've gone, especially in other countries, we were the first people that they've seen since COVID. Nobody's goes in there other than the prison guards and then the new prisoners that come in. So a lot of times we're like their first people that they see. We did go to a school for young children with disabilities, and then we went to actually an adult daycare for adults with disabilities while we were there. And again, both of those places, we were the first people that they've seen since COVID hit. And they were ecstatic that we were there. The adults with this, and it was interesting. You were showing me your arm. I don't know if you know, Patch had his leg amputated during COVID. So he actually,
No, I
yeah,
didn't know that.
he actually has a prosthetic. And when we went to the adult daycare, with the people with disabilities, one of the women there had a leg amputated. So they're taking their prosthetics off and they're like trying each other's on and they're trying to walk with the other and it was just a way for him to bond with this
Sure.
particular girl. Um, and yeah, I mean, honestly, it's awesome no matter where we go. I'll admit, we did go to a prison. It was for youth offenders. It was men. Uh, they were probably like maybe 16 to like 27 or so.
Mhm.
That one, when we went in at first, was very difficult to get, to get them excited or involved because they're like, "Oh, go ahead, clown, make me laugh. I'm not having any part of this."
So what
you
did
know,
you do? How'd you get them to crack it?
well, it's just kind of like anything. It's kind of like so you go up to a group, and if they're really not into you, maybe they're not into what it is that I'm doing. So maybe like one of the other clowns is doing something that'll get them excited. So I just would kind of leave them with like a sticker, or I would make a balloon and hand it to them, and then I would just kind of find another group. There was another guy. All he wanted to do, he was angry, so he every time he's found a balloon, he would just step on it and pop the balloon. So I purposely just started blowing up a bunch of round balloons and then just throwing them on the floor everywhere, just so that he could go around and
Oh,
pound them. And I'm like, if that's the way he gets involved, then we're gonna get him involved. That's all we're gonna do. I don't care if that's my job as a clown. There is to make everybody involved, give everybody something to do, make them happy for the amount of time that we're there. So if it happens to be that you want to pop balloons, well, we're going to give you some balloons to pop. We kind of meet everybody where they are. Not everybody is in the same spot and
right.
wants the same thing. So that's what's really great about when you go on a clown tour. You have got clowns who are very playful like me. I tend to bring chickens, and so I'm always throwing things and wanting to play that way. Or I will do balloons. I'll take a bunch of balloons in. You've got some people who take nothing in. All they want to do is they want to sit and hold your hand or talk to you, or especially like when we go to the orphanages, sometimes the kids will just walk up to you and they'll sit on your lap and they just want you to hold them for a little while, whatever it happens to be. So every clown kind of has their own thing that they do. And there's no right or there's no wrong. It's just, everybody just kind of has fun. And there were some days where I thought, oh, I'm so exhausted, I don't want to play. And so I just thought, I'm going to try something. I'm just going to sit here today, and that's all I'm going to do. And within 3 minutes, there was a child sitting on my lap, just wanting me to hold her. And so I brushed her hair, just little things like that. It seems like you think, well, you're a clown. Shouldn't you be doing magic, or shouldn't you be, pulling a rabbit out of a hat, or, you know, well, I will if that's what it requires, but sometimes it doesn't require that. Sometimes it just requires us being present and seeing what it is that they need from us,
Right.
because everybody needs something different.
Yeah. How do you not get so attached to these kids?
Oh, it's, I was mortified when I came back from Costa Rica recently, because I found out that one of the orphanages that we went to in Morocco, there was a huge earthquake in Morocco just recently.
Yes.
And so when I came home, and it was in the Atlas Mountains, that's where that's where the earthquake was, and that's where this orphanage was. I've been still trying to reach this orphanage, which I still have not gotten a hold of, to find out if everyone is okay up there. Because those were a lot of the kids up there. We had a great time with, and you grow attached to them, even though we're only there for like 2 hours. But it's like I have photos of those wonderful kids, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, I hope everybody's okay, because that's where they were.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's hard to go home. And I guess that was one of the reasons I continued to clown. I'm like, well, I can't just, come home and not think about what happened when we were in Russia or Morocco or Mexico or wherever it was that we were. I got to figure out a way to kind of connect with the people here as well,
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have your own like little quote you want to share with us for everybody to put a smile on their face?
A quote. No, my quote I kind of said earlier, which is, I think that the best way to heal yourself is to do nice things for other people.
I agree. Absolutely.
It doesn't matter how I'm feeling. I could be feeling terrible for a day. If I'm feeling bad, then I know I need to go do something nice for someone else. It doesn't matter what response you get. You might open a door for somebody and they don't even say thank you.
Right.
That's not the point. The point isn't to get the thanks. The point is to open the door for somebody. You did a nice thing, and then you can just walk away knowing that you did a nice thing. You can give $1 to the homeless. You can buy a candy bar for the homeless. You can, whatever you feel is doing something nice for someone, do it without any expectation of something to happen in return. And I think that was growing up one of the things that frustrated me, and probably another reason that I built a wall. Well, I'm no longer going to open the door for somebody if they don't even say thank you. You know what I mean? We kind of get expectations of what should happen. Well, if I do this for this person should give me $1. Or if I do this for this person should say thank you. Well, sometimes you get that, sometimes you don't. And that's probably one of the things as a clown that kind of drives me insane a little bit, is the fact that I probably don't know the magnitude of the people that I've helped while I've been somewhere, because sometimes they don't show it and they can't express it. I'm specifically thinking about, because I used to talk about, oh, when I go to these memory cares, they don't even look like they're paying attention. And and another clown said, you know what? Don't base what you're doing on your perception of how they should be receiving you, because maybe this person can't smile, maybe this person can't clap, maybe this person is enjoying it immensely, but they don't know how to show it. They don't. So I'm sure I'm probably on some weird Russian's website right now, because we've taken pictures with some Russians when we were in Russia, and somehow we've transformed their lives in some way that we don't even know.
Yes. Yes. So is
So
Pidge still touring too, or is he?
absolutely. We just got back from Costa Rica maybe like a month ago.
And how long has he had his amputation? A couple of years?
Yeah, he got it during COVID, so which he actually thought was kind of nice because during COVID, then he was able to get the prosthetic and get used to it before we did the first tour. The first trip we had right after COVID was to Morocco, and that was last year. So we went last year to Morocco. Then I've been to Morocco, Mexico, and then just recently Costa Rica with him. Yeah, he's still out there doing it. He's like 78 years old. He's still out there. He doesn't care. He'll probably be doing it until he passes. He's like, this is what he does.
That's amazing. I can't believe I didn't know that about him. About
Yeah, he's not letting that slow him down.
good for
Um,
him.
oh yeah, no, he loves actually going into the orphanages and pulling off his leg and scaring the kids and
Not about doing my handsome thing for
yeah,
I
exactly.
mean,
It's like you do the claw or whatever, Captain Hook. He kind of does the same thing. He'll pull his leg. And then of course the kids are fascinated, like, ooh, what's going on? So yeah, every little thing, and he's even like he'll take and draw like a face on his stump. So when he pulls his leg off, it's got like a little face on it. I mean, he does all kinds of crazy things. um, and that's what's really great about these trips is that we all have something. We all have something that other people think is either a disability or a disadvantage. Um, and our job is to show you that we all have something. And so really we're all normal. We're all the same because we all have something. And the things that we have are the things that make us unique and special.
yes. And you have such
Yeah.
a twinkle in your eye when you talk about these kids. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that before, but it's
Oh,
so,
no,
yes, it is so sweet because I mean, and I mean this wholeheartedly, you light up when you talk about these kids, and it is such a sweet thing to see. It really is.
well, it's a great, and it's not even kids. I was first told, oh, when you're a clown, you just clown for kids. I clown with a lot of adults. I go to a lot of places, like the prisons where we had adults. And probably do we have time for another quick little story before I go?
Please,
Okay.
absolutely.
So probably the thing overall that really got me to continue clowning was when we went to Russia. The last place we went, it was a hospice and it was for, senior citizens who were passing. And so my job was, they would divide the clowns, three go this way, three go this way, then they would send them up on other floors. And so when I got to our floor, they told us you can go into any room except you can't go into that last room on the left. And so, of course, as a clown, well, what's in the last room on the left? Why can't I go in there?
Right? I'm going.
you know, what's in there? I want to know what I can't go in to see. So they're like, oh, you don't want to go in there. It's a mean lady. Her name is Helena. Nobody's ever come to visit her. She's angry. She's dying. She'll throw stuff at you. She'll curse
That's
at
where I would
you.
go first.
And so I was like, well, if she curses at me, it's probably going to be in Russian. I don't know Russian, so I won't know what the heck she's saying anyway. And I'm thinking she's dying. If she throws something at me, how far could it possibly reach? But
Right.
so I did my best. I avoided the room. We went into all the other rooms. And then, of course, at the very end, I'm standing there in front of this door thinking, all right, what would Patch do? Patch would go into this room. And he told us that we were to make everybody laugh in this hospital or at least smile. So I opened up the door and I peeked in and she was not looking. She had her head turned toward the wall. And so I just started blowing some bubbles into the room. And I just slowly crept in, kept blowing the bubbles. And eventually a couple of the bubbles went across her face. And then she turned and she looked at me and she looked at me and I was like, wavy, as she just patted the bed for me to come over and sit down. So I went over and I sat on the bed and I'm trying to show her how to blow bubbles. I don't speak Russian. She didn't speak
Yeah.
English. So I'm trying to speak, Russian. And we're just, and so she was kind of smiling. And so I'm like trying to get her to blow bubbles and she blew like maybe a bubble. I'm like, no, you got to blow harder. And so I'd do it and show it. And she'd blow a little harder, maybe like three bubbles would come out. I'm like, no, no, no. I'm like, raise back and blow. And so she raised back and she blew. There were bubbles all over the room, and then her teeth flew clear across the room. so so she started laughing so hard. She's busting a gut. She's laughing really, really loud. I'm like, shh. Shh, I'm not supposed to be in here. I'm running over there looking for her teeth. I finally find the teeth. I'm like, I got them. About that time, the doctor walks in. What are you doing? I'm like, I look like the international tooth thief or something. But it was, he looked at me and he said, nobody has ever seen this woman laugh. And I'm thinking, well, maybe nobody's ever actually visited this woman, even
Yeah.
the people who work there. And so it was kind of like, it was that moment I was kind of like, you know what? There are so many people who are put into places where they're forgotten,
Yes.
whether it's nursing homes, whether it's hospitals, whether it's hospices, whether it's prisons, whether it's, mental institutions, whatever it happens to be. It's kind of like you put them away and you lock the door and you forget that they're there and
Right.
people forget you. And so that's kind of, and as I mentioned earlier, I don't like that. I don't like people to feel forgotten or that they didn't matter, that they were here for a purpose. And so um, that was kind of my mission when I came home was I need to go where these people are, whether it's a senior home, whether it's a dementia ward, whether it's a children's hospital, wherever it happens to be, that I can do something, that if it's no more than just letting them know, hey, I'm here and I see you now, you know. Um, and that's kind of why I keep going and why I keep doing what I do.
That's such
Uh,
a beautiful story. I
yeah,
absolutely love
that,
that.
that's probably that's the thing that I thought, you know what? If this is what's going to happen on these clown tours, then I got to continue to do them and I got to figure out ways to finance them, because we don't, the one thing that people might think is, oh, these clowns get paid to go on these trips. We don't. Clowns always finance their own trip. We pay for everything ourselves. We pay for our hotels and our airfare and all that kind of stuff, our food while we're gone. So, um, but for us, it's like it's a worthwhile mission. For us, that's it's
Absolutely.
something that needs to be done. And we're just trying to find more clowns who will want to go with us. So if you know anybody who wants to be a clown and go somewhere, let me know because we'll get them out there. We'll get a few clowns to go to Guatemala with us, and we'll hook up with some local Guatemalan clowns, and we'll have fun.
Yes, and I would love for our followers to listen. I know that we have become really great friends with a lot of wonderful people, pilots and chefs and distributors and CEOs and things of that nature. And I would love to find a way to connect you with them and let them help. I mean, let them help you guys with these kids any way that they can. I mean, it doesn't hurt. What's the worst you're gonna get is no. And I'm a pit
Yeah,
bull, so I don't take no
absolutely.
well.
Yeah.
I don't take
But that's my thing is I used to never ask. Oh, I don't want to ask. I'm like, what's the worst they can say is no. Well, if they say no, I'm no further ahead or no further behind than I am now.
absolutely.
So I might as well just ask and see what happens.
Right. I would love it. So I would hope that you will come back here very soon and make time. I'll get on your schedule now for later.
That's right. Yes. I'll go ahead and sign up. Yeah. So my website for the clown things is clownsonamission.com. And then of course my website is bullseyetheclown.com. If anybody wants to just drop me a line to say hello or needs advice on bullying or whatever it happens to be, or if you just need somebody to say hello to, that's not your parents or not a teacher at school, feel free to drop me a line on bullseyetheclown.com.
I will make sure that everybody has access to you. I
All
can't
right.
thank you enough for being here today.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right. I will talk with you again soon.
Okay.
All right. Have a
We'll make
great
a
one.
date. We'll make a date.
Yay. All right. Talk to you soon. Thank
All right.
you.
You're welcome.